Hello again, Pastor Michael Jarbo here. Welcome to another edition of Soul Care, conversations to help renew the spirit. I'm glad you're here. Check out today's episode. Okay, we are officially on. Hello and welcome to another edition of Soul Care. It's Friday. I hope you are having a wonderful day. We've been doing these pastor editions these past 2 weeks, and I have the privilege of interviewing Reverend Victor Resendiz. Victor, how are you, my man?
Doing all right, man. Doing okay. Thank you for having me here.
I'm telling you, you got some tough acts to follow with Colin and Jennifer. I think you're going to be up to par. I think you're going to handle it.
I know. I got them to send me their answers, so I'm going to answer whatever they. I don't want to compromise myself.
You don't have a wife named Landon. That's interesting that you answered that.
Now I do. Now I do.
Oh, now you do.
At least for this half hour.
So good. So good. All right, my man. Well, we've been starting off these, and they've been so helpful, as we talked about before this, just giving a little insight into people. And we did that sermon series not too long ago where we talked about your call. We talked about like the This Is Us series, right? Where we all kind of got to share a little bit of our faith story and background. But I want to hear it again, and for people who might not have been a part of that series.
Sure.
Talk about your call to ministry. How did you land at this point where you're a pastor on staff at MDUMC?
Yeah, so this is my third career. I'm going to be turning 49 in July, so this is my third career. I right out of high school, I worked for the bank industry for 10 years and reached executive level, worked my way up to that point. Then my life changed and I went into education, and I worked for Spring Branch ISD for about almost 6 years.
Yeah.
And then my ministry call, I was doing singles ministry as a volunteer at the church that I used to go to when I first started actually going to church and having a church life. And then Chapelwood United Methodist Church hired me in 2010 to start a bilingual ministry in North Spring Branch from scratch. And so we started that, and I was there for 5 years, and it became this huge, robust ministry. And so that's where I started to learn, the infrastructure of what actual, making a living in ministry was about. And then 4 years ago, I met Chuck Simmons, and I was in transition, coming back from a mission trip that I did in Costa Rica, and I was very tired, and my energy level, I started to monitor it as far as like physically. I was just not able to do full blast energy type of events anymore like you do when you do youth ministry. So I started to, one of my spiritual practices is to journal, and I just started asking God, what's next? If he was calling me to do something else, or if I needed a break from youth ministry and then come back restored, whatever that was. So at that time, I met Chuck Simmons and kind of just told my story, where I was, my crossroads. And he said, well, I'm going through my own crossroads where I'm thinking of retiring. And so we do this together. And then from there, within that time of both of us kind of meeting and praying together, one of my other spiritual practices is to walk the labyrinth.
Yeah.
And during one of my walks, it was very clear to me that God was calling me to become a pastor. And so then 4 years ago, that's what happened. And so then that's how I came into MDUMC, and it's crazy. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, of course, the story has so many details, but I don't want to take up too much time.
It's great.
But pretty much that's been the timeline. And so God has just been amazing. I've just learned to lean into his voice and just kind of just literally trust it, whatever that looks like, even if it's just one step and I don't know the whole picture. But that's taken a lot of spiritual sort of discipline and a lot of spiritual groundedness and anchoring. But God's been good, man. And so he called me to teach contemplative spirituality and to get involved more in social justice ministry. And so that's where I am right now, man.
Yeah.
I've been working with you for all this time.
I know. This has been awesome, man. And we knew each other a little bit before you came on staff.
Yes.
You
Exactly.
you were showing up and worshiping at in the sanctuary. Man, I haven't thought about this in a minute, Victor. That you were worshiping in the sanctuary, and Dr. Simmons would say, "Hey, Michael, you see that guy Victor Resendiz come in through?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You need to reach out to him." I think we either had lunch or a coffee conversation.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
And that, I just it's been incredible to get a front row seat at your journey to becoming a pastor. And then we, of course, have our deep love and passion for Irving. You lived in Irving, where I grew up in Irving. We may have been in same places at same times. And then, of course, and the audience right now might not be a huge fan of this, but who cares? We're both Dallas Cowboy fans, and
Absolutely.
and God gives preferential treatment to Cowboy fans. Isn't that in the Bible?
I don't think people understand that, but they will. I mean, they eventually come around. They'll see it. No, I know it's funny you say that about Irving. It's funny you mention Irving because we did roam around the same neighborhoods. The only difference is that most likely you were a lot younger than I was.
I was the punk kid on the streets, and I think you were working at like a bank, like being a professional or being a boss. And I was,
That's right.
I didn't even know how to write a check.
That's
right.
That's the irony of life.
It's the irony of it all, but it's a beautiful thing how God works. And I'm telling you, it's been a real privilege to get to watch this. And you're in seminary still, continuing on your master's of divinity degree. No, you're getting a master's. Say again. Master's
in arts of ministry, and I will be done in 6 more classes, and I'm done.
Awesome.
So this is my 3rd year. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, we're all rooting for you, and it's just great to get to witness that. And seminary has a way of really getting us to change our minds and perspectives and shape us and form us. So kudos to you to working a full-time job. I worked as a barista at a coffee shop and couldn't imagine being full-time at a church and holding all of this that's going on in our world and being a seminary student. And so man, kudos to you and the great work that you're doing. Okay, cool. So I shot you a question. I've been asking this, that there's been this African proverb, especially during this COVID-19 time, that's been really speaking to me. And it's that phrase, a person becomes a person through other people. And so, Victor, maybe I know we could probably spend a couple hours talking about all the people that have helped form and shape you, but who's someone that has made a significant impact in the life of Victor Resendiz?
Yeah, when I read that question, that's hard. It's so hard, but you're right. There's so many people that just build us, and they invest in us. But if it's okay, I'm going to name 3.
That's fine. Deal.
Yeah. So the first ones are definitely my parents. Yeah, definitely my parents. They instilled so many values that I still carry. They taught us, we immigrated to the United States when I was 8 years old from Mexico City, but they instilled in us to continue to be in touch with our roots, where we've come from, who we are. And then at the same time, they taught us to embrace what became our second home or our home, the United States. But they impacted me immensely. Their work ethic, and then I would say on my father's side, and then my mom's spirituality. As you well know, I'm into the contemplative mystics, and my mother is one of them. Her lifestyle of prayer and spirituality and faith and actual trust to God, man, that was just, now it makes sense why I am a pastor.
Right.
And then in my professional life, there's a gentleman by the name of Tom Lindholm, who impacted me immensely, who took me under his wing, and he corporate trained me in the bank industry. And so he was, I didn't grow up with that kind of influence,
right.
white type of corporate influence. And he was very graceful, and he befriended me, and he wasn't just my boss. I became part of like his family and everything as far as our relationship. And he just raised me and as far as corporate level. And he's the one that I have to thank to even get to an executive type of position.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and then lately has been my spiritual director, Wick Stuckey. He's a pastor at Chapelwood United Methodist, and Wick has walked with me in my spiritual growth, and we've been doing, sitting down together for 5 years. I see him every month, and wow, I mean, if I've reached any kind of maturity when it comes to spirituality, it's because of him, and so
Wow.
he's definitely one of my ties of grace. So yeah, so I know I broke the rules a little bit, but those are, I have to
Again,
make.
you know what? It's COVID-19. There are no rules. I mean, right?
That's true.
When I give you, tell me one name and you give me four, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me give the fourth one on this.
Oh gosh, no. Oh no. Three. No, you used your parents as a unit. I see what you did there. You're in school, so you're wrapping. Okay, well played. No, yeah, I know how much of an influence your father and your mother both played on you, and it's great to hear those other names. And you emulate their influence on you in what you do and what you witness. And Wick Stuckey's such a good man and healthy that you have a spiritual director. And which is like, some people are like, why does a pastor need a spiritual director? Hold please. All people need spiritual directors, regardless of who you are, and counselors and therapists.
That's correct. That's correct.
During that time, right? Because if we don't, we are all works in progress, which I've been saying a lot.
That's right. That's right. And we can't do it by ourselves, no matter who you are. We can't do it by ourselves. Yeah.
Yep. All right, switching gears a little bit, Victor. I want to know, we've tried to make this conversation in the midst of so much heaviness in our world and our society. Sometimes it's good to reflect and laugh a little bit at some of the funnier moments in our life. So just in ministry, is there a funny moment that comes to mind, or something silly, or just like an aha kind of moment that comes to mind when you think about your ministry?
Yeah, there were so many, and Mark Bogart might be able to vouch for me. When you work youth ministry,
oh yeah,
my goodness, you witness so many things of your kids, and it may not be funny, but just seeing them flourish,
right,
through their awkward ages, and then becoming, older to maybe from, transitioning from elementary to middle school, then high school. Now I still know them as adults. And so there's just so many situations. But one of them was, as you well know, when you go camping or you go and spend the night somewhere, we did a lock-in. And I am very, I'm going to say I'm pretty, I get grossed out easily. I'm not a guy's guy. And so when it comes to BO and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're
with. So I've never been that way. So anyways, we did a lock-in, and and so we selected this huge room for the boys, and then obviously the other side of the building was for the girls. Oh my gosh, man, the stench during the weekend was just like bad.
Oh.
But I knew that was I knew that was going to happen. So the other youth directors were, they spent the first night with them. I didn't. And they kept telling me, well, why not? I'm like, man, they're going to stink. I'm telling you.
Because when you lock in the students, you also lock in the smell.
That's correct. Exactly. So you sleep in the hallway.
There it is.
Yeah. I grabbed my, my sleeping bag and all my gear. And I remember 2 or 3 boys came out and they're like, Mr. Resendiz, can we sleep next to you? I go, man, get your stinky butt back in the. You guys can't sleep out here. I'm sleeping here. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
So for the next 2 days, guess who joined me the next 2 evenings? The other 2 youth directors were with me.
Yeah, it's like.
They're like, man, bro. I'm like,
yeah,
bro. I go, you can literally see the stench in the air. I'm like,
oh man.
So I got a reputation from the boys from there. They're like, you better put up with it. I'm like, well, yeah, it's true.
That's right.
So anyway, to me, that was kind of funny, just being boys. And I'm like, yeah, I can't take part of that.
Yeah, good call.
I love you. can take part of that, you know. So anyways, that's
No,
one
that's
of my,
good. No, that's good. The joys of youth ministry, the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly.
that's correct.
So there
And
you
the
go.
stinky.
And the
good,
stinky.
the bad, and the stinky.
All right, so changing the subject a little bit. That's funny, kind of lighthearted stuff. But what's maybe a more poignant, powerful moment in your time of ministry that you've gotten to either witness or just sit back and watch, or on the flip side, be engaged within? I think powerful moments can happen while we're not even involved in the moment. We can just take part in it, but also when we're in the moment. So how would you respond?
So many years ago, you know, I've learned that in ministry, you're just a seed planter. That's all you are. And so, you know, we all kind of outgrow that urgency to have everybody save, have everybody go to God. And, you know, we're just kind of almost impose that on people or those that we lead. And so one of the gifts that I've seen that has been powerful is to learn to lose grip of that and just allow and just plant the seed and allow that God is going to grow that seed. However, so it's very powerful to see, for instance, some of my former students, now that they're, you know, at adult age, reach out to me and say, you know, all those Friday nights when you spoke, you know, maybe you thought I was just rolling my eyes or I wasn't listening, but here I am at 24 years old with real life issues, and all that stuff is like here, and I'm using it, and I just want to thank you. I mean, that's powerful. It's not a, you know, it's just an affirmation that what we do,
right?
It is instrumental in people's lives. And then recently, you know, doing this type of deeper spirituality type of material and guiding people to go deeper into their own experience, I get these wonderful emails of just transformation.
Yeah.
Transformation where God has intervened. And so just being a facilitator of that has been so powerful. So I'll give you a quick example because I want to tie it into our series of Psalms. We did a contemplative teaching on Psalms and what it represents as the most sincere way of praying, because it's so raw, you know, the way the Psalms are expressed. So one of the things that I encouraged people was, you know, kind of like, you know, where are you right now in your life? How do you feel? Are you angry? Are you confused? Are you frustrated? Are you joyful? Any of that. And so I encourage people to write their own psalm. And I left it as an invitation. I never said you have to. It's not an assignment. Oh my goodness, you should have seen some of the emails and some of the psalms that were shared in the class of people just pouring out their heart.
Wow.
And to hear that back, to say, you know, you gave me the okay to be as honest as I could with God on paper, and that felt so great. Because then I said, then present that in front of God, and that's your prayer. So that's been so gratifying and so powerful in my own life, you know, because whatever I facilitate, as I tell them, those that go to my classes, is this is not I just read and bring to you. I'm practicing this stuff. I'm sitting with it. So
right.
If I'm sharing it with you, it's basically because this is the experience that I'm living. So seeing that as a pastor, seeing that as someone that does spiritual guidance is so powerful. And it's just, again, it's an affirmation that just plant the seed and allow God to intervene. So you know, Wick tells me, you know, prepare the space for transformation. That's all you have to do. And wow, I mean, for me, that's been immensely powerful.
Wow. So good. Yeah. And the Psalms, you know, you talked about the Psalms there, and it's a beautiful connection that we can still be, we're all writing Psalms every day.
Correct.
And,
absolutely.
And it's a beautiful practice. I think this is, and even just prepping and for this sermon that I'm preaching on Sunday has just showed me the beauty of what this, I think it's timely that we're in the Psalms during a time such as this with so much unrest and injustice, and not that hasn't been what's always been, but that just, you know, recorded and witnessed, and our whole country feeling this moment. That's a really, I think this will beautifully commingle together as we move throughout June and into July, as Dr. Brad Morgan gets here. So thank you for acknowledging that, Victor. Really.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. Last question before we get to the rapid 11. That's my signal. Before we get to the rapid 11 questions, I want to ask you, Victor, and it feels like when I asked Jennifer last week and I asked Colin, because of how time and life works, it just, it, every day it's healthy to reflect on how our soul is every day, because every day is different. And so, Victor, I'm just asking you, checking in on you. How's your soul, my brother?
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful question. It reminds me of the spiritual practice from Saint Ignatius of Loyola, of the examine of the journey, where you have these reflective questions on a daily basis, basically checking the soul. Yeah, it's been tough, Michael. The past week and a half, being a person of color, all this is very, very personal. I grew up in a community, predominantly Black community and Hispanic community, and I've told you this story before. My dad used to, he was an auto mechanic, but he was very well aware of the community. He was just a very awakened individual. And I remember, especially during the time when he taught me to drive, he would warn me and say, if you ever get stopped by the cops, make sure that you do not react to their provocative tone of voice, because they'll use it against you, and you will see that you're being picked on. And he said, and so just be careful. He goes, because that's going to happen. It didn't dawn on me till the very first time I got stopped, and then I recognized what he meant. So with that being said, there is a realization of unfortunate racism. I want to clarify, a lot of the confusion that goes on in social media right now is that we're selecting sides, so everybody's against each other. It's not like that. There's a pandemic called racism, and that's what people are looking into, speaking into, not selecting one particular group that's being attacked. So with that being said, when you ask me where my heart has been, it's been heavy, but also I've been very intentional to make sure that I anchor myself in God's presence. So that way because I've been getting a lot of conversations, people want to have conversations.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind that goes back and forth on the Facebook comments or social media. If you want to have conversation, let's have a phone conversation, or I'll even do an inbox, but we're not going to display this whole thing of back and forth. I don't want to prove anyone right. So basically what I've been carrying for the past week and a half is asking God to provide me with the wisdom that when I need to speak, purely comes from His Spirit. And when I need to be quiet, purely that my presence is a purely supportive presence that comes directly with love and compassion from God. So I've been trying to be diligent about removing my emotions, my feelings, my stance, so I can be available for people to come in and I can listen to them. And so those other things that I have personally, I have my venting spaces, and I've talked about them: spiritual direction, therapy, very intimate friends that I'm willing to vent that out. But nobody else is going to be a casualty of those things.
Right.
So my soul lately has been just constantly examining my heart, that I'm trying to be a good vessel for folks to want to discern what's been going on. But yeah, I am heartbroken. I'm very heartbroken that we're still dealing with this, that this is still an ugly part of our human, and that's the thing. This is not all of us. This is not our identity. This is just part of us that is broken. And so we just need healing in that part of us. That doesn't make, because I have a bias, doesn't make me all a bad person. I just need to be healed in that bias, whatever that is, and we all have. And so, yeah, to answer your question, it's been a inner grappling week and a half. I appreciate you asking that.
You're welcome, man. Thank you for sharing from your heart. And I can't understand where you're coming from, but I promise to be a voice that helps make a difference in this world. And that's all we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for sharing that. It means a whole bunch here.
I appreciate
it. Hope it impacts those who get to hear it, to hear your experience in that way. Um, praying for you, brother, as always. All right, now it's time. You've made it. You've made it past the first level. Congratulations of this very
All right, cool.
video game. And so I'm going to ask you the rapid 11. Are you ready, Victor Resendiz?
Let's do this.
Let's do this. All right. Vamos, Ramos.
Vamos, Ramos. Ay, Chihuahua.
Hey, Chihuahua. All right, ready. Fill in the blank, my friend. Fill in the blank. Ministry is
my lifestyle.
Okay. You're called to be brave, Victor Resendiz, but your fear is real. What's the first thing that you do?
I run to my spiritual practices.
Beautiful. Okay. Number 3, something people often get wrong about you.
Well, and depending on what spaces we're in, but specifically maybe here at the church community, maybe people are under the impression that I'm very quiet, and that, which I am. I do select times to speak, but then there are other spaces where I'm not very quiet. I'm very talkative. So.
Yep. I thought you were going to say your age.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what's in the water at the Resendiz home? I mean, come on. 49? You're going to be 49? Get out.
I'm going to be 49 July 21st, 4 days.
4 days before me. That's right. July birthday.
That's right.
Very good. Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great answer. The last TV show you binged and loved.
Gotcha. It's a dark show, but it's all good. I love that show Ozark.
Ozark.
Yeah,
wow.
I love Jason Bateman, and I really like Laura Linney. Both are incredible actors. So yeah, that series is phenomenal.
They are incredible actors. I have not watched Ozark yet, but man, it's a good show. I've heard great things about it. Okay,
it's pretty intense and pretty dark. So,
your favorite movie?
So Gonzalo Iñárritu, who's a Mexican director who's won several Oscars already for Birdman, The Reverend, Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay, yeah, he's got 7 incredible films, and he's my favorite director. And his there's a movie called Babel,
okay,
with Gael Garcia Bernal with Brad Pitt. And it's an incredible movie that takes place in Morocco, Tokyo, Mexico, and the United States. And the story connects all 4 of these characters that are in these countries, and they're tied into one particular situation. But it's a phenomenal movie about humanity and love and passion and tragedy. I mean, it's just a beautiful movie, and it's called Babel.
This next question is going to be hard for you because you are, I know, an avid concert goer, but what is a concert that you'll never forget?
All right. Well, so yeah, there's many of them, but the main one was taking my parents to go see Paul McCartney. Back in 1991. Yeah. Wow. That was awesome. It was, I was 20 years old. I didn't have a lot of money. And of course, it wasn't the prices that we have now for concert tickets, but still, they were pretty expensive for that time. And being a 20-year-old, and I remember saving up my money to buy the tickets and surprising my parents. And that was just to see them enjoy Paul McCartney was just so awesome. Yeah. Next
question, Victor. What are you reading right now?
So besides seminary material, I've been reading the Letters and Papers from Prison by Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Okay.
They're kind of for this time.
It's right time to be reading those. Yeah. Next question. What is on your bedside table right now?
My phone.
Good.
We all do it. We all go to sleep with it. Wake up, and that's the first.
With it. Yep, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my phone.
Same. Give me a snapshot of a moment in your life that brings you joy.
Oh, the birth of my daughter, Victoria. I can't I can't duplicate that moment.
It's awesome.
Just the realization of this baby girl belonging to me, and all of a sudden I became a father. That was wow. I mean, it's all kinds of emotions, but mainly joy. Yeah, mainly joy.
And she's a rock star in herself. We could do soul care with Victoria, and it would be the most highly rated one because she's such an awesome.
I'm honored, man. I'm honored that God has given that I've been able to manage her. That's all I always tell her. You belong to me. You belong to God. I go, I just manage you.
That's right. So good.
Yeah, no, it's God's been good. God's been good.
Amen. Tell me one thing you're deeply grateful for right now, Victor Resendiz.
I'm grateful for I'm grateful for as a clergy. I think we are getting to we're in a moment where we're vulnerable and we're leaning into God's voice with the transition that's going on. And of course, Brad coming on board. I think I'm very grateful that God has prompted our hearts, because even when we have our communication, it's very synchronized. And that's something I'm very grateful for. But doing ministry with people that are aligned to God's voice is very helpful. So anyways, that's what I'm grateful for.
It is a gift. And the last question, Victor Resendiz, you've made it through the 11. Here it is. What do you hope is the first thing that God says to you when you get to heaven?
He's probably going to look at me, chuckle. I know he has a sense of humor, the fact that I'm a pastor. He's probably going to look at me and say, I'm so glad you finally listened to me.
That is awesome. That is a good line. Yeah.
There's a whole story behind all that.
I bet. And we're out of time. Oh no, what happened here? Yeah, good. Yeah. Say, whoo, okay. No. Yeah. Here, my brother, thank you so much for sharing your heart today and the time. God bless you and have a wonderful week, okay?
You too, Michael. Thank you so much. Bless you, brother. Peace.
Thank you so much for checking out Soul Care. Join us again next week at noon on Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye.